Yeah, I'm back in on the other side of the world now, back in Asia, China. We did a whirlwind tour of Europe, covered pretty much half of Italy, down to Bologna, and then Slovenia. Slovenia is such a gorgeous country. I didn't know much about it before I visited there, but absolutely really really pretty, lovely people, amazing foods, and the downtown city area is really really gorgeous. And then over to Croatia to see Bieber. And last week I mentioned that we were going to do an interview with Bieber, and we did. So that's been posted up online.
That was
And
amazing.
yeah, yeah. And she's got some golden nuggets to share there. So please, down in the comments or in the little links, I'll link back to that video again as well, because that's a true master there and someone that's really, really worthy of listening to. And, she comes from the old school days when business was really built from the ground up with very little resources, no technology except a cassette recorder, like a boombox on the shoulder. She'd show up to church halls and run classes that way. And, one of the questions I asked her was, what's a secret to business? And she said, just determination. She persisted with so many classes where there was one or two people showing up for a long, long time, but just trusting that she was doing the right thing and working on her skills, and then giving a good experience to those people coming, and then they would be then inviting their own friends and family to come along. And, she became, at her peak, she was quite well known, famous in Australia. She's president of the Queensland Keep Fit Association, which was one of the big fitness bodies. Actually, there's an interesting story. Obviously everyone knows the brand Lululemon, right?
Hmm.
And there's another brand in Australia. And back in the early days, I remember a lady would come to our home and she would measure up my mum, and she would make customized leotards for her, with the fluorescent colors and the high socks and everything. And Bieber was quite famous for always having really cool outfits, really colorful. People really enjoyed coming to her classes. She was such a colorful personality, and her clothes matched as well. But I remember this lady coming to our house every few months. She'd measure up, and then Bieber would then end up with a new set of leotards for the season. And the lady's name actually was Lorna Jane. And Lorna Jane, I don't know if you know the name in USA, but it's equivalent to Lululemon. Lululemon comes from Canada. It's the Australian version of Lululemon, and it's now a global brand. Like it's here in Asia, it's in Europe, it's all over Australia, and probably one of the top three brands for the fitness industry, specifically aerobics and yoga, like that type of sort of activity. Famous brands. Bieber was one of her first clients. And she always mentions every time we happen to catch up with her or have a chat with her, Bieber was one of her biggest supporters back in the early days to help her build her business. So, the fitness industry was really, really built on these hardworking, determined people, both men and women, back in those days in the 1980s. And now, a lot of those global brands, and every global brand has a story behind it. There's no such thing as an overnight success. Every single brand, including the super brands like Nike and others that we know, they all come from humble beginnings. A Techno Gym, in my opinion, one of the best fitness equipment companies in the world. The guy, his name is Alessandro Nerio, I believe, something like that, in Italy. He started welding fitness equipment in his garage, with his spot welder and pieces of metal, and would build his own fitness equipment. And now Technogym is a global super brand as well. And I went to visit their factory a couple of years ago, just about 28. The production line and the capacity of the factory that they have there is absolutely incredible. Everything is made in Italy. It's one of the few brands, to be honest, in the fitness industry that is made in the origin country of the brand. There are other brands, which I will not mention, that say they're made in this country, made in that country. But I know exactly where they're made because I've seen the factories in China where they're made, and then the labels are put on them.
Mm.
So yeah, Technogym is one of those authentic brands that prides itself on quality and design. Actually, it's in the same region where Ferrari factory is. and one of their lines of equipment, one of their premium brands or the premium lines of fitness equipment, actually has upholstery that's made in the Ferrari factory using Ferrari leather.
Wow. I didn't know that. By the way, they are not a sponsor, so this is just genuine goo goo gaga on this brand.
Yeah, exactly. Just kidding. Um, so, Chuck, one of the questions that we had asked over the last week, this is now episode 6, including the one with Bieber. And some people said, can you tell us a little bit more about yourselves? Because maybe putting ourselves in the context, a lot of people are hearing some great content from us. We're having some great discussions and discussing some things that are really, really interesting. A lot of people are very, very engaged. But they said, hey, tell us a little bit more about you guys so that we know where you've come from and put a little bit more context into it as well. So how about, I know both you and I, we are not the kind of people to trumpet about ourselves too much. We like to offer value to other people, but maybe it is a good idea if we just did a quick introduction of ourselves and where we've come from professionally and personally to
Okay.
put some context into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go first, I guess. So I grew up in a small little town called Pasadena, Maryland. I now live in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where we just got a foot of snow, which is the most I think this town has gotten in quite a long time. And I met my wife in Baltimore City, and on a Sunday, fun day. And they, right before all the apps became popular, I never had to swipe right. I ended up just going into the right bar at the right time, right? And we lived our lives, our young adult lives there in Baltimore City. Had a lot of fun. At one point, I could walk to all of my favorite sporting events, Ravens and Orioles. Yes, sir. And when we were ready to have a family, we decided to find a place that had a garage and a driveway in the city. So we moved to a separate area of Baltimore, which ended up feeling like the suburbs inside the city, but with city taxes. And long story short, that led to COVID hitting, and we moved to Virginia Beach from there. I have 2 children, 6 and 3 at this point. And yes, if you've seen in prior videos, I discuss our journey of our 2 children who are 6 and 3, but twins, right? So pretty cool IVF story and our struggles with that and getting pregnant and that whole venture. But we have 2 beautiful, amazing young kids who are home due to the snow right now. So you'll probably be seeing them. I've donated a portion of my liver to my son who needed a liver transplant by the age of 3. I've been professionally, I tripped, literally fell into the insurance business and have been in the insurance business for over 20 years, which makes me feel really old to say. And I got into the recruiting side of the insurance business, and that pretty much if you were doing well at all in where I was in the company, I won't be mentioning any companies, but when you were doing fairly well, they would tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you should grow a team. Okay. That's what you're supposed to do. So I probably interviewed and hired thousands of people in my 20 years and have migrated that's transformed my trajectory in the business. The additional licenses that I've received and financial planning that I went down in the future to add to the insurance side and just where that led my career is has been pretty crazy to see. I think my wife actually mentioned it before, not too long ago. We were driving down the street and we were just chit chatting about the past, and she said, "Yeah, when we first started dating, you would go to work on Saturdays, and I told you I didn't really want that lifestyle." And then you stopped going to work on Saturdays. And I was like, I don't even remember that. If I did go to work on Saturdays because I was working my butt off, if you didn't make any sales where I was, you didn't have any income. And if you didn't, for me back in the day, if I didn't do any recruiting on Saturdays, I wasn't going to be able to get much recruiting done throughout the week. So yeah, I did work almost 6, 7 days a week in the past. And then it wasn't until I met my now wife that I realized that's not the life I'm going to sustain for a long period of time. I was literally only doing that until I had a family. And then when I met her, I was like, okay, it's family time, right? And it led me to more of a corporate side of the insurance business. And it got me really involved in sort of the acquisition and the succession planning side of this business, where agency owners are ready to retire and they're looking to sell their book of business and helping them find new as a buyer and helping that buyer get installed. So it's learn a lot about business being in that insurance side of things. And then of course going through what I went through with Chandler, got me inspired to do bigger and bigger, brighter things outside of the insurance business, venture down additional areas of interest and became an investor in the fitness business and been down this world of the entrepreneurship as well, which has led me to working with awesome people like yourself. And of course, if we fast forward to today, shall I deem myself a two-time cancer survivor? I don't know. I don't think I want to proclaim that. I don't want to put any labels on that. Yeah, I have thyroid cancer, and I'm going for surgery number 2 on Wednesday of next week. So
Awesome.
there's me.
Awesome. Maybe a couple of questions. Your favorite sport?
Baseball.
Special talents outside of playing semi-pro baseball?
Special talents. If you do happen to be a fly on the wall in the shower or the car, I'm a singer.
Fantastic. Awesome. So speaking about music, do you have like a favorite style or a favorite all-time artist or band that you enjoy?
This is a weird answer. Have you ever heard of the band Kaleo?
Kaleo, no.
I say it's weird because I don't really find anyone that knows who they are. They know some of their songs, but at the end of the day, I don't think they've listened to this album or this band as much as I have. Outside of Chris Stapleton, who I've probably know every single word of a few of his albums, Kaleo is the second most song or band I've listened to. It's Kaleo. They're an Icelandic band.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
yeah, they're big. They're big to me in the U.S. Their songs are amazing.
Fantastic. Okay, I'll definitely check that out. Okay, thanks for that, Chuck. That's definitely put some context into it, and it actually helps to explain why you are such a good people person as well. Like being a leader in such a large organization where you're responsible for recruiting and training and I guess mentoring people in their careers. That takes a lot of dedication and a lot of skill, communication wise and emotionally wise as well. And I believe when I first met you back, let's say more than a year ago, it's seldom that you meet someone where you think this is a really genuine, sincere person. They're great with people. They have a positive outlook on life. They handle stressful situations and business in a positive and proactive way. So that was one of the reasons, certainly, why we're spending more and more time together, and we'll be into the future as well. Definitely.
Thank you for the kind words.
So in one of the first episodes, I mentioned something called Johari's window. And Johari's window has 4 different windows that a person is known. So one of the windows is things that you know about yourself and other people know about you. So now we know Chuck loves baseball and Chuck knows that he loves baseball himself. And then there's the window where you know things about yourself, but other people may not know. So we're opening that window up wider by sharing some of our life story with people. And then there's another window where people know things about you, but you don't realize that they know. Maybe they've seen or heard, something along the way and they say, oh, I know this about Chuck. It's a little secret. It may not be a bad thing, but, and it might be like a particular character trait or something that we may not be aware of ourselves, but other people are aware of it. And then there's the 4th window where other people don't know things about us and we also don't know them about ourselves. But it's important for us as we continue on this journey through life to explore more about each other. And that's a lot of what we've been talking about the last few weeks, is finding out more about ourselves, our outlook on life, more about the universe, other people, and things like that. So we're on a journey that never ends. And like they always say, that the journey, it's all about the journey. It's not the destination, right? As we're going through life. And just to then cut over to me.
Yes, the same way.
I am an Australian. We have 2 lovely boys, Nicholas and Samuel. They're 15 and 11 now. They were just recently over here. They travelled for the first time as unaccompanied minors over to visit. They spend most of their time in Australia going to school. Two lovely, very well-behaved boys, very smart. Nicholas is super, super talented at piano. And how did he pick up that skill? From gaming. would you believe? He is really, really talented at gaming. He's got super, super fast fingers. And then when he started music classes at school, his fingers just took over and he can just smash out incredible, like I wouldn't even say modern music, like classical style piano music, really, really fast on the keys and everything, just because he's got incredible agility with his fingers. And he's got a really, really good ear for music as well. So he actually cannot read music so well, but he can listen to something and he can practice a few times and absolutely nail it. And he's played some incredible pieces. And then Samuel, the younger one, he's a super, super nice boy. He loves cooking. Every morning he'd wake up and he'd be making breakfast. He knows how to make coffee. He knows how to make French toast and everything. He's a real people person, and I believe he's quite good at sport as well. He likes to play basketball and tennis and things like that. So he'll develop those as he goes forward. My background, I grew up by the beach, surfing actually from a very, very young age. So I would say in my peak, I was quite a good surfer. I surfed some of the biggest waves in the world in Indonesia and other places. Have done some competition. Really, really loved it. Loved the lifestyle. Um, However, there comes a time in your life where you can't just bum it out on the beach every day. You need to be a little bit more active. So I got into teaching. I became a primary school teacher into physical education, and
What
that then,
what age did you say I can't be a bum on the beach anymore?
well,
20.
yeah, like I went through university to study, and then there was a couple of years after university where I was just doing a little bit of part-time work and I enjoying my life. But then I realized, I do enjoy teaching, and that certainly was going to be my career. And yeah, once you get appointed in a school that's not near the beach, then you might go for a couple of years where you don't see the ocean. So slowly, slowly, you start to transition into different hobbies. I then got massively into fitness and running and even bodybuilding at one stage, and a little bit of music. I play guitar. It's one of the two things I brought to China about 20 years ago. I rolled up in China with a suitcase and a guitar, and that guitar stayed with me for a couple of decades. And yeah, so uh, as you know, I'm in China now. I am an Australian. I worked as a primary school teacher. I worked as a fitness trainer. I grew some businesses. I had 6 personal training studios. I had a huge team of personal trainers working in my company. I started a kids program that went international in Australia called Fit Kids. Went right across Australia and New Zealand. Sold that. Then there was a time around 2017 where I thought I'd catch up with my brothers. They all happened to be in China at that time. My older brother was a genetic scientist working at Hong Kong University and living just over the border in Shenzhen. My younger brother was a semi-pro tennis player. He traveled the world playing tennis, and he ended up in Hong Kong, played the Davis Cup for Hong Kong, met a girl, fell in love, stayed in China. And then my youngest brother, he came over to China to teach English, and later on got into the trading company or trading business to do international trading. And then later on started his own company as well. So all three of my brothers happened to be in China. I thought, what's going on over there? I didn't know much about it except what I saw online and what you see on TV.
Mm.
And came over for a visit for about 21 days. I was here, and I thought this place is very, very different to what I. There's a lot of opportunities here, especially in the fitness industry, which I was in at that time. And I thought, why not? I've never really done anything big and bold in my life. I've always kind of played it safe. And so I went back after that trip to Australia in 18 days. I booked a one-way ticket 18 days later, sold my business, quit my job, sold my car, broke up with my girlfriend, put my stuff into storage, packed everything into one suitcase and my guitar, and I came to China on a one-way ticket. And I had no job prospects or any idea what I was going to do at that time. A few days later, I was in a gym with my brother, and we were working out. At that time, I was pretty into strength training, so had a bit of size on me and very, very good technique because I was a teacher as well. And a personal trainer came up to me and said, like, are you a teacher? I said, oh, I dabble in fitness training. And he said, oh, we could really use some training in our company from a professional. Like, would you mind if I introduce you to our boss? So then I got introduced to the boss of the company. At that time, they had 5 clubs in China, and I had a meeting with this lady. She said, who are you and why are you here? I said, my name is Edward Curtin. I'm here to change the fitness industry of China, and I'd like to do that in your company as a platform. So she gave me a great opportunity. I then worked in that company as the fitness director. They had about 40 personal trainers at that time. I called them personal trainers. They weren't really, they were more like gym instructors. So I taught them about personal training. I designed programs, built that company from 5 clubs. Now they have about 57 clubs. I was responsible for opening a lot of those. And I worked there for about 7 or 8 years. And then one day I was on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, you're always getting messages from strangers you don't know. And you ignore most of them because you think they're just advertising or something. But there was a message on LinkedIn from a headhunter. And this headhunter, Mark, he said, Ed, we've got a job in Shanghai that you might be suitable for. And I thought, okay, I'll take the bait. So I jumped on a call with this guy. He was legit. They flew me up to Shanghai. I met the chairman of the company. This company was investing $500 million in building a wellness resort outside Shanghai. And they were looking for a wellness director, someone that had experience in this business and knew how to grow teams and to design programs. And the salary was pretty impressive and great opportunity. There were things that they were asking me to do that I hadn't not necessarily had experience doing, but I believed I was able to learn. And so I came back to Shenzhen and I basically quit my job and uprooted myself and went to Shanghai. Shanghai, as you know, is one of the biggest cities in the world, and certainly in China, it's one of the big 4, and took that opportunity on. And I worked there for a couple of years. That was really, really incredible. I was literally putting on a hard hat and going to construction sites and supervising design and construction of the project and building a team, working with all sorts of modalities. I think earlier today we had a message talking about traditional Chinese medicine and things like that. So working with Chinese doctors, working with nutritionists and clinical dietitians, professional athletes, kindergarten teachers, like professional chefs, all different types of people. So that was a great learning curve. And the greatest skill that I brought to that role was being able to integrate different things together. So how do you integrate the traditional Chinese medicine doctor together with a professional sports coach that studied in USA, also with a clinical dietitian from Western countries, together with maybe a Chinese medicine doctor that uses Chinese nutrition. So integrating these together, letting these people to work together, and then creating something really, really incredible. That was, I believe at the time, was like one of the first in the world to do this true integration of Eastern and Western together. Now that project, that was a 2-year contract, which I agreed to. And then that led into other big projects following that. COVID hit along the way. That wasn't a big deal for me. I was still here and had lots of opportunities because business was still going pretty strong in China during those years, but it was closed off from the rest of the world. 4 years I didn't see my kids, would you believe, during that time. But then that led me into the B2B business world, where I was working with different technology companies that were creating workplaces with workplace wellness programs and sports centers and fitness centers and swimming pools and all sorts of great value-added benefits for team members. So I was helping to do that. And then along the way, then you and I crossed paths, and actually you reached out to me on LinkedIn as well, right? And I thought, who's this guy reaching out? And I remember you said, you asked me a question. You said, hey, Ed, we're looking for a leader for this business. And I checked it out. I thought, well, this is pretty good. I said, Chuck, what about me? And you said, oh, but you're in Asia. And I said, yeah, but if you want to grow this business internationally, you need someone on the other side of the world so we can take care of all the time zones. And that's what we've been able to do quite well. Right now, we might just insert a small little message from our sponsor, Studio Sweat On Demand. So take a look at who we are and what we do, and then we'll continue.
Hi there, and welcome to Sweat Pro by Studio Sweat On Demand. Sweat Pro is an amazing commercial workout program created exclusively for fitness studios, large gyms, hotels, schools, universities, and planned communities. We offer the best in on-demand virtual classes designed for individuals or groups, and an affordable way for you to help your customers get healthier, feel happier, and reach their fitness goals sooner. Sweat Pro delivers hundreds of body sculpting workouts to your clients, available 24/7. These fitness classes are going to push you to your limit no matter what your age, your body type, your fitness level, or your level of experience. With Sweat Pro, your clients can choose from a wide variety of classes and our library of hundreds of virtual workouts with hot new releases coming out every single week. We've got indoor cycling, TRX, HIIT, Tabata, sculpting, kickboxing, kettlebell, yoga, Pilates, bar, and so much more. Our trainers are not actors or models, and neither are the class participants you're going to be working out right alongside. We're just real people getting real results. And all of our classes are filmed in a live environment rather than a scripted and staged scene that you might see in most fitness videos. The setup is easy and it's affordable because with Sweat Pro, there's no need to buy any expensive equipment from us. With Studio Sweat On Demand, you can use pretty much anything you like to pick and play our workouts. Most virtual fitness services are also going to require a minimum year-long commitment, but not with Sweat Pro. We're confident that you and your customers are going to love our service, so we don't feel the need to lock you down with a long-term contract. You can use Sweat Pro for scheduled group classes or individual workstations, and you'll love how multiple users within one location can take advantage of classes simultaneously at no extra cost to you. Yep, for a monthly cost that's lower than most on-demand services, you can have as many setups in one location as you'd like. So what are you waiting for? Add this amazing new benefit to your customers, residents, or students by offering the best in on-demand fitness with Sweat Pro.
Back from the commercial break, here I am.
Yes. So as you can see, we integrate technology together with the human touch. And I think that's something that Chuck and I discussed early on in the partnership and the cooperation was, although we provide services as a subscription, with both of our experiences working with people, we understand that that's where the true value is in business. You know, it's not about the technology, the bells and whistles. It's about what's the experience for the people using your products and your services. And that's where we spend a majority of our time. I would say 80% of our time is taking care of our existing and the new customers to let them know that we are working together with you for the success of your business.
I said,
Cheers. Okay, so Chuck, moving on now to our second part of the discussion, February 26th. Tell us about what's happening there. Over to you.
yeah, I'll be having surgery number 2, February 26th. Heading out to Tampa Bay on the 25th, the day after my 42nd birthday. And yeah, so staying with friends, the same friend, Erica. Shout out to Erica. She lives in Clearwater, so I'll be staying in Clearwater and enjoying my time beforehand. Actually going to see my parents because they are snowbirding. You know what that term is?
So
Snowbirding.
snowbirding, no?
Yeah. Snowbirding is a term where folks that live in a somewhat mostly cold area, at least during the winter, they're like birds. They fly to the south and they live in the warm area. So my parents snowbird in Florida for the winter time because in Maryland they don't really like the cold. So they spend about 3 months out of the year in Florida, and it happens to be about 45 minutes away from Tampa. So I'll be able to get to hang out with my parents. So it's working out pretty good. And yeah, so the surgery is on the 20th. The funny story, if it's funny, you obviously want me to share what I'm going through. So part of what I'm going through, as anything medically, you deal with the fear side of things of, okay, all right, my health, I want to take care of my health. What if it doesn't go away? I'm beyond all that, right? So I've worked through it. Go back to other episodes, you'll see how I've practiced some of the thought processes that I have, and I've gotten through it and what I've done to manage that. But like most people that go through any type of medical procedure, especially surgeries, there's a big financial component to this as well that I don't think helps not talking about. And if you're watching this and you're going through anything medically related, a big stressor that might even continue to keep helping or continue to keep making things more difficult is likely the fact that you're stressing out about money. So I've learned a lot. I've evolved a lot. Money and I have not had the best relationship, but come here. So I'm getting some work done.
Hello,
Hi.
Chandler. Hello, Chandler. Ding dong.
I'm
How are
standing up.
you?
It's a standing desk now.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Your daddy was just talking about you and saying how much of an amazing good boy you are. Is that correct?
We'll see if I can get him to go away. He's obsessed with this microphone. Okay. All right. Hey, this looks really good. You did a good job. Can you go do your alphabet? All right. Where was I? All right.
Yeah, the
There's the man.
finance.
Yeah, the finances. Yes. You've heard me talk about my friend Alex Colley, the
Mm.
shout out realtor in Tampa Bay. He's like I mentioned before, he and I are like soul brothers. We're always sharing things we are consuming that's been helping us mentally, physically, spiritually. And he shared with me a few weeks ago a YouTube video of a lady that basically reads a book, a famous book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And I've been putting that on over the last 2 weeks whenever I can because it's several hours long, the actual YouTube video, which we'll put in the comments section or description section. But yeah, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And this has helped me. I've found a lot of resources to try to help me have a better relationship with money so that it doesn't stress me out. But this is a really amazing tool. And I would highly suggest that whether you're going through a medical issue like myself, and that's leading to additional expenses, like right before that we started our podcast recording today, the hospital called me and basically demanded that I pay $3,500 so that I can have this surgery because I have a high deductible insurance plan. Yeah. And I knew that was coming. They've pretty much emailed me several weeks ago and gave me the estimate. They called my insurance company and they projected how much I would need to pay. But I was wondering, of course, how am I going to pay this? On top of everything else, I have $3,500 to just drop for this surgery right now. And I've been listening to this YouTube video. And through that, she provides some really powerful stories, which really help me follow along so that I can relate to it. I'm learning, Ed, how to become a better storyteller. And as you can tell, I'm struggling right now. But in that process, I'm finding myself at the gym listening to it and I'm pausing whatever I'm doing. I'm pausing that. And I literally would just write down what she just said so that I could start saying it myself. I don't know, maybe in the beginning of this actual YouTube video, she talks about the power of words, spoken words, and how that works in regards to the universe and God and having Him give you what is needed. So I'm buying in, right? What do I have to lose? So here's what I wrote down, and here's what I've been saying every day as a spoken word. And then I have an example as to how it's already helped and it's worked. So I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to have plenty. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right reach me in great avalanches of abundance. Give me a definite lead. Let me know if there's anything for me to do. I am always under direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly. So it was maybe 3 days ago when I took this. I'm not even done this YouTube video yet. It's that long, okay? But after several hours of listening to it, this is what I stopped and paused and wrote this down. And I would start saying it out loud. And then the first day that I actually said this out loud, in the evening, go to my mailbox, get the mail out. And then next thing you know, I have a check from the IRS, which I did not do anything to get, okay? But I have a check from the IRS for well over the amount that I need for this surgery.
Wow.
Nothing in regards to a refund from 2021. I did not file for any changes in my tax application from 2021. I don't know where this came from, but I'm telling Leah about it and I read this off to her and I say, look what I got the same day I just was doing these affirmations. And it was just amazing. I felt like my heart was whole and that I unlocked the power of life, right? Or the game of life and how to play it. So I don't know if you can get a better story as to how this stuff works. So I'm obviously going to be saying this affirmation every single day out loud, just like I did multiple times a day, and just letting life play out the way that it's supposed to, because it'll all work itself out. So this morning when I got the call, Chuck in the past, granted, obviously it helps that I have this check, but even if I didn't, Chuck in the past would have probably asked to reschedule this because I'd have been really frustrated that I had this financial situation and in a bad mood for a few hours, and I'd move on, not let it fester for too long. But now I'm not even letting that fester for a minute. I gave grace to this lady. It was very awkward for her because I asked. I said, "Hey, what if I can't pay this? I now have the money, but I really wanted to know, like, what if I can't pay this?" She's like, "Well, you'll have to reschedule your surgery." I was like, "Are you serious? You would literally make me not get this surgery because I can't pay you? And the insurance company's going to pay a lot, but I have this deductible, this high deductible that I have to meet. You really aren't going to do the surgery?" She's like, "I had to talk to my supervisor." I felt bad putting her on the spot like that. I felt for the first time, I felt like I just needed to wrap my arms around this lady. I don't know who she was. I never will probably meet her, but I felt like I needed to like give her a hug and just say, "It's okay. I'll be fine. I'll go ahead and get this paid." But she was very uncomfortable. At one point, she even said, "I don't really like making these phone calls." So one of the things that I learned in that video is to give grace to others and to let divine love surround them, and then it will surround you. And I did that with her. So it was a different experience because normally I would have just been angry and took it out on her, and I'm a pretty nice guy, but sometimes when you're stressed out, you don't really act like you want to act like. Sometimes, Leah in the past has been like, "Man, you're so mean," when it comes to like customer service people and when you're trying to call a company because they provide a bad service. And I've never been afraid to just tell them that I wasn't happy, right? And not give grace. I had an opportunity to change that this morning when she called, and it was a profound experience and just that little moment. So, yeah, that's my update on the surgery. Finances will be fine. The surgery will be great. They're going to just do that little opening here. And then I'm sure we can probably include the video or the image later. But I had a friend, Fahim, send me a really sweet picture / small video that really made me feel good. And it was with me from the previous surgery with those 2 bags for the drainage. And it just basically told me, and it was a message from him that I'm inspiring others to help them get through their health journey. So it felt good to know I'm not just sharing this out of so that I can hear myself talk. I'm sharing this to hopefully help people, and hopefully it does.
Wow. Let me, Chuck, tell us about this picture.
Yeah, so this is me the day of surgery, basically. Either the day of or the day after, I can't really remember. But back the first surgery. So if you zoom in, you can see my amazing Frankenstein scar. I believe I sent this same picture to you when I first got out of the surgery.
Yeah, I can see here.
But yeah, so if you're just listening to this, check us out on YouTube so you can see the visuals. But if you could put that back up, the message really resonated with me. And it was very sweet of Fahim to send that to me. Fahim and I, baseball players, so he said, once you battle on the field together, you battle in life together. He wrote, "One day you will tell your story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will be someone else's survival guide." And that meant a lot. So thank you, Fahim. I love messages like that, and it's really impactful to me to have someone share that.
Yeah, I think, we are all going through this journey of life as solo pilots. But when you know that you can have a ripple effect on other people in a positive way, and you may never meet those people, but they may just see, which looks like a meme, right? That's probably going to be a meme that's online in the future, shared around between people that you've never even met. But someone likely will look at that and think, what a great message, and there's a real person there in that photo that's sharing that message, and that's an inspiration to someone else. So that is definitely quite impressive. And that kind of segues into what I wanted to share here. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. Some people would have, some people would not have. Maslow is an American psychologist from back in the days, I think a few decades ago. And he talks about the basic needs of a human. So the bottom of the pyramid is the physiological needs. So these are things that we always revert to when basically surviving, right? If you're on a deserted island, you're in the jungle, you don't have money, you don't have a job, you're facing danger. The basic needs we have is air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, and reproduction. That's the basic needs for humanity to survive. When people feel that they have the basic needs being covered, then they go a little bit further to safety needs, personal security, finding a job, building resources, health, and property. Yeah. When those two have got a foundation in your life, then people start to go a little bit further. Friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection, love and belonging. This is where you start to build community with other people. And then beyond that, once people have established those foundations in their life, then they look at self-esteem. So improving their respect, their self-esteem, their status in society, looking for recognition, becoming stronger as a person, and then freedom to be able to do and live the life that you want. And then at the top of the pyramid is self-actualization. So these are the people that have had an awakening, or they're at a point in their life where they're digging deeper into themselves for the desire to become the most that they can be. And it's not everyone achieves that level. Unfortunately, in this world, there are a lot of people that are around level 1 and 2 their entire life, just looking for security, looking for employment, somewhere to live, and the basic needs. That is unfortunate. And I hope that, in the future, the world improves the conditions for those people. Likewise with love and belonging, you and I and many people are very, very lucky to have found a partner to take this journey through life with us. And we can support them, they can support us and help us to build a family and have that love and belonging. Not everyone has that experience. And some people, some people refuse that experience. Maybe they've had love in their life, or they've lost it and they don't want it again, or they're afraid of it. And that brings me to just a very quick story. A lady who was a client of mine, a personal training client, she was a little bit on the overweight side. I was a young trainer at that time. I thought everything was about looking good and being fit and losing weight and having low body fat and things like that. But this was a lady that had some life experience. She was probably in about her 50s at that time. And she would come to train with me. And one day I just happened to mention to her, maybe we can look at what you're eating and how to help you to lose some weight. And she said to me, "Ed, what makes you think I want to lose weight?" And I said, I just assumed, that's why you're training with me. She said, "Actually, no, I don't want to lose weight because I don't want to be attractive." And I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" She said, she's been deeply hurt in her life, in a relationship, and now she never wants to be in a position where someone is attracted to her again. She feels safer to have a barrier around her, physically and emotionally, that protects her from other people ever hurting her again. So, that love and belonging,
Wow.
that's a deep one. That's something that we all hope that we can find that perfect person. But there's also people that have been badly, badly hurt. And we've all had heartbreaks through our life. Every single person has experienced it. But for some people, it goes very, very deeply. And then self-esteem and self-actualization, certainly what we've been talking about the last few weeks is at the top of this pyramid, especially what you're going through and the way what you just mentioned now, facing some situations that you mentioned, talking to the customer service lady, but deciding to take the high road and be a better person, be a better version of yourself for the sake of another human, So it's very easy over the phone to just be cold or disregard the feelings or emotions of other people, but we also need to be aware that they are people as well. And not everyone is doing the perfect job that they love. Some people are doing things that do make them feel uncomfortable, as the lady mentioned to you as well. And Maslow's hierarchy of human needs it goes back a few decades, but I believe now there's even another level above this, which is what we've been tapping into the last few weeks. It goes beyond us. Like everything here is about the individual, including becoming the best that one can be. But there's another level above this, which goes beyond what's good for me, is to what's good for others. What can I bring to humanity to make humanity better, to make life for others more happy and more loving and more meaningful as well? And I think that's what we're kind of, we've been tapping into recently. And last week you mentioned the story about the church story. You were in a very vulnerable position, completely opening up yourself to the judgment of others. But what did you find? You found immense love and support and caring from people that didn't know you.
Right.
And that's something that's an evolution of people that goes beyond anything that's personal. For those people to come to church and to join that community and to want other people to feel better, that's the most selfless thing that you can do and that you can become.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to reiterate some of the things you're saying there and maybe summarize it, a big theme in all the content that I've been consuming, reading about evolving as a human being, if you were to summarize it, it would be to just love. Love yourself, but also love everybody else, regardless of how much you know them, and just spread love. And that in itself is going to improve your life. And even if it doesn't, just do it because it's going to help everybody else too.
Yeah. Chuck, there was a question that I wanted to ask you, and some people that I've discussed over the week, they had similar kind of thinking. Was you mentioned maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago about what you believe to be the causes and effects of you being in this situation now, facing this surgery and facing this this predicament. Is it all to do with nutrition? Is it all to do with the physical lifestyle? Is there something else that could also be contributing factors, such as the mindset or other things beyond just what we see and consume?
Just trying to figure that out, man. I think the list in my mind is so long as to what has contributed to my health challenges. I think it goes back to what you have said to me numerous times, is that a healthy body cannot have cancer survive in it. And if you have the ability, and we can cut part of this out if you want to, if you have the ability to share that video I sent last night with audio, that short snippet about cancer can survive in the body if it's healthy, and that cancer in itself is a good thing because it's basically absorbing all the toxins in your body. You remember that video?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would encompass everything that I could say in just that video, because is it nutrition? Big time. I think what we put in our body is the most important thing. What you are, what you eat is not just a cool saying. It really is the most important thing. And I used to think that if it doesn't affect your physical body, like on the outside, because I could eat anything, barely, I did never gain weight. I think I've said that before. My wife hates that. I could literally eat Taco Bell every day, pizza and pasta every day. And pizza and pasta are where I'll probably indulge and overeat, and I'll still not gain any weight. And so to me, it was, oh, well, physical appearance wise, like I'm not obese. I don't need to change the way I eat because I have this magical power where I don't gain weight from eating. So I would abuse that in the past. And, in a pinch, just go down the street to Taco Bell and get some lunch real quick, right? This situation with cancer has completely changed that thought process to an understanding and educating myself a little bit more about the importance of what I put in my body and how it affects the inside of me, and also how that also affects my spirit and my attitude and my mental fortitude for how I'm approaching life. All of that stem from the gut. So I would say that's certainly been maybe the number one, but then you learn so much in this process of, heck, I mean, the shirt I'm wearing right now, this is made out of plastic, right? I I don't have the ability to just redo my whole wardrobe. So I'm still wearing stuff like this, but I'm conscious enough to know that I don't want to keep clothes like this. And I'm eventually going to be getting rid of all polyester in my life when I can completely redo my wardrobe. But sweating in this isn't great. So when I do cardio, when I go in the sauna, I'm not wearing plastic. I'm not going to let the actual plastic go inside my pores and poison and toxin my body. So I would rate that. If I would have even had that come into my universe before all this, I would literally have dismissed that, saying that that's rubbish. How could plastic or what you're wearing lead to toxicity in your body? Just do the research. You know,
Mm.
you'll see we're not the only ones talking about it. And when you do the research, you'll realize it's mind blowing the amount of stuff that we're consuming, putting in our body, wearing on our bodies, washing our bodies with the water coming out of our spigot in the shower. If there's enough filter on that, and you look at what's in the water coming out of your city, it's not just Virginia Beach, it's not just Baltimore City, it's not just China, it's everywhere where like most places don't have the cleanest water.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so, you're relying on government institutions in most cases to regulate that, and you're trusting that they're looking at everything that's not going to impact your body negatively.
Yeah.
So it's a bit overwhelming when you're going through it. And I really hope that our communication, our channel, the content that we're putting out is going to help people consume that in a manageable fashion to the point where they can not make it overwhelming for them and start making small little changes in their lives to prevent dis-ease in their bodies and not wait until they become sick,
Mm.
find out that they have a disease, to
Yeah.
go down this rabbit hole of so many changes that you need to make if you
Yeah.
want to make it immediately.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people think if it's out of sight, out of mind. Like, in some ways, you can consider yourself lucky because at a young age, it's surfaced to the point where you're aware there is something going on in your body and changes are necessary. Working with thousands of people over the years as a trainer, I can see firsthand you cannot tell by looking at a person on the outside what's going on inside. However, when you spend enough time with someone and then you compare them to the dozens or hundreds of other people that you're working with, you start to look at the trends. And then you notice that the people that tend to eat this type of food tend to have this type of energy, this type of personality, this type of attitude. And then the people that tend to eat some foods that may be really positive and nutritious, there's a difference in the personality and character and behavior and energy levels and enthusiasm of those people. We all know what's the time that you feel the most terrible is when you're sick. It's impossible. When you're sick, you got the flu, you got a sore throat, you're coughing up, you're vomiting, whatever. My goodness, the only thing you care about at that moment is getting better. And it's hard to laugh. It's hard to be positive. It's hard to think, I'm going to get better soon because you're stuck in that moment. So, unfortunately, people need to be reminded, oh, I don't want to get sick again, but then they go back to doing what they were doing before. So in some ways, you are lucky. You have a red flag has popped up and now you're taking care of the red flag. But there are other people that are living a lifestyle that is sub-health leading, and they're going for years and years with a poorer, lower quality of life and energy and vitality because of that. and not realizing what potential they could be experiencing if they were to make those changes. And then, maybe later on something else will pop up where their red flag will arise, and then they'll say, my goodness. But it may be too late. They may be a little bit older. They may not be in a condition to be able to recover at that point because it's so deep. Your cancer is in an isolated part of your body. There are other people now whose lifestyle is leading to a sub-health of cancer or disease throughout their entire body, not an isolated part of the body. So it's, we're not trying to shock people here, but just do a self-assessment of what am I doing now that could be leading to something in the future that's not very good for my health.
Yeah.
And then what are the things I'm doing now that are really, really good that I should continue? One thing I learned years and years ago from my mum, Bieber, actually, was drink a shitload of water every day, 3 liters a day. So every 25 kgs of body weight, which is about every 50 pounds of body weight, 1 liter of water, 1,000 mils of water. So if I'm a 75 kg person, that's 3 liters of water per day. So I trusted my mum. I just did it, and I did it for decades. I have been doing it. Like I've always got this, these giant bottles with me, and I usually don't go to sleep until I know I've drank my 3 liters a day. Every small thing makes a big difference. If you think about, well, all the toxins are getting flushed out of my body every day. Hopefully the water is good quality, but let's say it's better than not drinking, right? Skin quality is good. For my age, looking younger than most people my age, got heaps of energy, have good quality sleep, have good movements when you go to the bathroom. All of these things are as a result of that one thing. And it's just a habit. It's just something that you do, and you promise yourself every day, I'm just going to do that, just like brushing your teeth. When you go on an international flight, which I've just done, oh my goodness, one of the worst things about the flight is I forgot my toothbrush. So you're going like 23 hours without brushing your teeth. Oh my goodness, like that is the worst feeling. So, when you create those habits in your life where you feel terrible if you don't do them, that's a great way to start, a great place to start. And these are small things, we're not talking about complete life overhauls. We're talking about hydrate your body. Don't put rubbish in your body. Get as much nutritious food, such as fruits and vegetables, which are anti-cancer, anti-toxic foods into your body. Do your best to get those fruits and vegetables from good sources as well. That's step 2. But first, eat fruit and vegetables. And then second step is think about where they're coming from. But don't just stop eating fruit and vegetables because you're not sure where they're coming from. Step by step, make the positive changes that have the biggest impact. And I know you're going to visit, or you're going to see Mr. Brian Johnson, the Don't Die guy, very soon, right? In March. I watched a video of him the other day, and the question put to him was, Brian, out of all of the things that you're doing, all of the tests and everything that you're changing in your life, what's the big golden nuggets? If I could change one thing today, what would that be? And he said, extra virgin olive oil. And I remember hearing this years and years ago from who? From Bieber, because she's European. She comes from, Croatia. Olive oil since we were a kid, teaspoon a day, a spoon a day, olive oil, cooking with olive oil. So I've had that in my life as well. And, verified by the Don't Die guy, olive oil, in my opinion, and from what I understand, can have one of the biggest effects positively on your health. Why? Because omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, and most disease in our body is inflammation.
Yep.
So it makes sense to intake nutrition that is anti-inflammatory, and omega is one of the most important things that you can do to help that. You can take it as supplements, there's fish oil supplements and so on, but get it from the natural source as much as possible. I happen to love avocados. I happen to love olives. I happen to love salmon. So all of those things are very, very high in omega oils.
Yeah, beautifully put. One of the biggest suggestions that I would have for folks is to follow your wallet. Look at your bank accounts. What are you spending your money on? Generally, what is in your life is what you're spending your money on. And what I was spending my money on before was not in line with me being a healthy person. Matter of fact, I avoided even figuring out with a pre existing autoimmune disease any research, any money being spent to try to fix it. I relied on the fact that medical professionals in modern medicine were telling me that it's nothing I can do about it. Here's a pill, take a pill every day. And I did not take any action because it wasn't covered by my insurance to do any further blood tests, food sensitivity test, microbiome, gut test, none of that until I found out about this disease. And I would highly encourage that whether your insurance has it or not, to go get an actual test done, whether it's a food sensitivity test, microbiome gut test, or just a test that will help you figure out more blood markers than what you're getting in an annual physical. So
Yeah.
let me back
And
up.
there's actually a really quick test you can do yourself. IBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, is a result of the rubbish we're putting in our body, in particular refined sugars, carbohydrates, sugars, flours, wheats, glutens, all of those things lead to small intestine bacterial overgrowth, which presents itself as a bloated tummy. Take a look at your tummy in the mirror after a meal or in the morning. Is there air inside? Is it bloated constantly? Do you feel like it's always a little bit full? That's the reason. And that in itself, by reducing those foods, which I know that you have done, all of our favorites, we all know them, that has a huge impact on that part there alone. And you need to consider if there's bacterial overgrowth, what's the reason? Bacterial overgrowth in our body means our body is trying to fight something, right? That means that we're in a constant state of repair because of something that we're ingesting.
Mhm.
So those small changes there can make a huge benefit. Some examples like cooking with coconut oil, incorporating olive oil into your diet instead of the highly processed vegetable oils and that they're using. In China, peanut oil and corn oil is used everywhere. It's absolutely toxic
Yeah.
for your body. So, these are just surface level things that are easy to change. You can still cook with oil, just choose the different type of oil, the one that's better for you.
Yeah. Yeah, but and for me, it was I just needed to see the actual blood markers, right? Even if I had looked in the mirror and just said, "Oh, yep, I'm bloated," and that's what Ed said, that means I gotta switch up my diet. I don't think that that would have been enough to completely change. I mean, I made a 180 shift as soon as I got my blood work back. It's not even from my primary care doctor that's telling me to stop eating gluten and dairy. I went to this functional nutritionist purposely to find out what's going on in my body and what might be causing all these issues, and learned about inflammation and learned about the foods that came back from everyone's different, right? Like not everybody, most people are, but not everyone's going to have a gluten sensitivity that's going to cause inflammation in their body, that's going to have its body attack itself and attack the thyroid. I think if you're like me, you probably need a doctor to tell you to stop doing something. And it's a shame, but that's how I was, and to some certain extent still am. I want a professional to tell me this is what you need to start doing and stop doing. And having that actual blood work result back made me make the changes in my diet that had led to me literally dropping like 20 pounds that I didn't even think I had to lose.
Mm,
And then, everyone knowing I have cancer, they're like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, the healthiest I've ever been."
mm,
You know?
yeah,
So I would, if there's anything you're getting away from this episode or this channel and you never come back, just go get some blood work done with a functional doctor and see where your health is today, so that way you can actually make some changes for tomorrow and not continue down the path of convincing yourself the lie that if you keep doing what you're doing right now, that it won't manifest into something unhealthy for you later.
yeah, well said. So, and also respect the opinion of people who you respect as well. There are many doctors out there that are throwing advice around to people, but take a look at that doctor. What's their body look like? What's their lifestyle look like? Do they smoke when they're off their shift? You know, and then on the other hand, you've got doctors, medical professionals who are into functional medicine, that they explore alternatives to just the mainstream drug products that the pharmaceutical companies are pumping into us. They look great. They walk, or they jog, or they run, or they play racquetball. You know, they live and breathe what they're preaching to other people. Okay, I'm going to respect the opinion of those people. And this kind of segues us into like our next topic, which is like the future of the wellness industry. You know, now you notice if we were to title this podcast Masters of Fitness, then we're going to be talking about fitness equipment. We're going to be talking about strength training. We're going to be talking about how to lose weight and tone up. But we're talking about wellness, you know, and wellness is an all-encompassing, I guess, topic that is open-minded to different ways that work for different people. And that doesn't mean that one thing's going to work for everybody, right? Chuck, just a question to you, like, where do you see this industry going in the next 2 to 3 years, knowing what you know now and knowing what is available out there, but it's not mainstream? And it's not mainstream because that's not where the money is for big pharma, right?
Yeah. Let me answer that question with where I hope it will go. And I truly believe that that's likely the case as to where it will go. I think governments around the world can't afford to keep having the majority of their citizens be unhealthy and bankrupting the medical system, which we're already experiencing in the US. And it's not just a US problem, it's a world problem. So I believe, at least in the US, with our structure of health insurance and how it all works, people need to be incentivized or not disincentivized to seek out preventative care. Prevention for the development of disease is not incorporated in benefit packages through corporations. The fastest way to impact people is to go through their employers. So my hope and what I believe is going to happen is that prevention, functional medicine, okay, these types of diagnostic testing to see markers before someone's actual illness. Okay. Again, let's go back to what is a primary care physician's job. Their job is to diagnose and treat, not to prevent. We need to bring prevention and the medicine of prevention. Primary care physicians, the surgeon I'm going to go down to Florida to get my surgery from, one course out of 8 years of intense studying in their profession, one course is nutrition. And we all know everything starts in the gut. And they're getting one course. They have to go seek that education out themselves if they care. And the functional medicine, the prevention of disease, and what they determine is a marker for the fact that if this blood work or this blood level is not uric acid, for example. My uric acid is high. And if you go to a primary care physician and they do a test, which is a metabolic test, and they look at my uric acid, they would say it's okay. But you go to a functional doctor and they're like, we have to get ahead of this. Here's some things that you can do right now in your diet and some supplements that'll lower your uric acid. And then here's the cause of not lowering your uric acid, which is all sorts of cardiovascular issues, right? So that's what you get when you can incorporate functional medicine. The only way we're going to be able to do that and make an impact in people's lives is if it goes to the employer and we start bringing this in to the as a whole.
Yeah. And that's interesting because that's where we are putting a lot of focus on, for us to introduce a subscription of online, on-demand exercise classes to one individual person, we can have an influence on one person and maybe some of the people around them. But if we're able to work with corporations, with communities, with businesses, with governments, let's say that's the goal in the future, then the impact is far, far greater. And we've designed our programs and our products to be low-hanging fruit. The easiest possible way to start moving your body is to follow somebody teaching a class professionally online on your personal device, right? That can be done literally within the next 7 minutes. Drop us a message in here. We'll send you a link. You can be doing it 7 minutes later. Like that's the low-hanging fruit, the easiest way to start moving your body and not have the excuse of, I don't know what I should be doing. I don't have the right equipment. I'm not a member of a gym. It doesn't matter, right? So that's why we've designed our product to be exactly like this, that it can integrate into any corporation, any workplace wellness program, any sports or fitness or community center as well. So that's why we're doing this, and that's why we're sharing this education. I believe the fastest way to take wellness and functional medicine from the hoo-ha that it used to be into mainstream is through education. People being aware that it exists is a start, right? Now we have access to, we've got YouTube. It's easy to search and find things, but making it more and more accessible and available and spoken about by real people. You and I are not doctors. We're not functional medicine specialists. We are real people, just like many people that are watching our episodes, sharing the facts to people that this does exist. It's easy enough to make these changes in your life, and we're here to help guide you through it, and for you to share with us as well what you suggest and what you have learned through your journeys as well, people that are our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's a mission statement that I have in my soul and in my gut right now, it is to bring the prevention of disease, functional medicine into the common benefits package, so that way we can make an impact in more people's lives. Not we, but that actual aspect of preventative medicine can make an impact in people's lives. And obviously working out and exercising is a big part of that for sure. But having the access to a functional doctor without having to spend hundreds of dollars to just go see them to see if something's wrong is a big difference. It should be included. You want healthy employees that are going to not have to be a huge claim hit like I am right now, right? I mean, this surgery is expensive. $3,500 that I just paid is a fraction of what this insurance company's going to pay, which then by default means that overall plan for the employer is going to take a huge hit. And then guess what? For the entire employer package, their health insurance is going to go up next year. I'm not the only one in this thousands of employees that they have in the company that I'm with right now. Like, I'm not the only one probably having this, but you have major health events like this that could have been prevented years ago if I would have just known or maybe been incentivized to go get this test done to find out I have this inflammation issue. Who knows? There's a good chance I could have prevented this from happening to me and going through what I'm going through. But also, from an employer standpoint, could have prevented this employee from going through a very expensive surgery. And if I'm a key employee, which many employers, right? Many employers have very important employees that it's instrumental in making sure that they stick around for that company for a long time. Guess what? You're going to have more and more employees get sick, have issues. Hopefully nothing severe, but it's unfortunate that the reality is if we continue down this path as a society, health-wise, it'll be many more of your employees are going to get sick, and they're not going to be able to actually perform their jobs, and you're going to struggle as a business. So it's becoming more and more apparent every day, not just in the US, but in the world, that if we don't take care of our employees and help them prevent diseases from occurring, we're going to have some challenges being profitable as organizations.
Yeah.
But the more companies see that or believe that, they can get ahead of the curve, but they're going to, unfortunately, a lot of companies are going to just see it and learn it the hard way.
Yeah. And I think if we go back a few years, there was incentives for companies to be environmentally friendly. There was a big trend, the CO2 emissions and refuse from your business and the environment, all of these things. The government the government was pouring money into that. So that's where companies put their priorities. So if the government was to incentivize for the benefit of the employees rather than the environment, because if you got healthy employees, they're going to take care of the environment for us. Trust me, take care of the absolute most important assets first. And prevention absolutely is far more cost effective than cure. I use a quick analogy. When a few years ago, I had a car repair. There's a joint called a CV joint on the front wheel of your car, which as you're turning your wheel, there's a joint in the wheel that's like two pieces of metal that kind of look like this. And over the top of that is a CV boot. It's like a rubber boot, a protector thing that goes over this joint. My rubber boot was damaged. It fell off and I heard a little bit of noise. I ignored it for like 3 months. That little rubber boot cost $3, the prevention. But by not having it, dust and sand got into that joint, and then it ended up costing $300 instead of $3, because I ignored it and because I didn't take that precaution. The human body is exactly the same. It's not expensive to live healthily. Actually, it can be much cheaper than living by putting crap in your body. So the prevention is far more effective and far more cost effective in the future without all the headache, the pain, the torture, the heartache that people face through sickness when they're facing sickness. I always used to say to my clients, if you don't make time for your health now, then you need to make time for your sickness later. Which would you prefer? People say, I got no time to exercise. I don't have 30 minutes once a week to come to the gym and do some training. 30 minutes once a week out of 168 hours. Really? But would you have 30 minutes to be at home sick if you had the flu? Yes, you would, because you have to make time for sickness. But it's voluntary for us to make time for preventive health. But that's where the biggest investment should be made.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that hit me when I was going through all this, you keep hearing about, hey, it's so expensive to be healthy and go down this holistic path. And, the biggest takeaway saying that I got was you either pay now or pay later, right? And at first when I would hear that, I'd be like, oh, it's so annoying. Like, this is just this is their way of selling me on whatever product they have. But it's so true. Like, look at my example. I avoid it because the food sensitivity tests that I thought about doing, right? And going down that rabbit hole years and years and years ago on my own. But ultimately, because my employer didn't cover it, I just said, I don't think I need it, right? I could have spent the $150 for that test 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. Right? I'm not blaming the employer for not offering it to why I got cancer. By all means, no, I think I would have probably been more incentivized to do that and not make that decision. But man, I mean, $3,500 I just spent is a lot more than $150, and $3,500 is just one of these surgeries. So yes, the saying of if you either pay now or you pay a lot more later for taking care of yourself and health. Now, I say that as the fact that most people that are probably going to be watching this have the ability to make changes in their lives like that by changing the thought process. Let's not wait for employers to do anything. But if you're an employer, don't make your employees pay more now later so that they don't have to pay later, right? Because that same saying could be said to you, right? You either pay a little bit more now by bringing in something, like Studio Sweat, and we can partner with some of these functional medicine doctors to bring that in, or you pay more later because the hundreds of thousands of dollars that my surgery will cost the insurance company, which then will also cost my company, is a lot more expensive than helping me get access to a fitness workout routine and functional medicine doctors to do blood testing. So
Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea. Like I'm not really aware of the costs of medical in USA, but certainly without insurance, it would be unaffordable for most people, right?
yeah, 100%. Like what? That's why I asked her today, what would happen if I can't pay this?
Mm.
And she basically was like, I got to talk to my supervisor, but I think they would probably have to cancel your surgery. She even said at some point, I think it's because you have a high deductible plan, and maybe you should think about pushing the surgery to the end of the year, and then maybe you'll already had met that deductible, and you won't have to pay $3,500. It's like I don't have the luxury of doing that. I need this out.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's been eight months since your previous surgery, and now there's something existing in your thyroid. The trajectory of growth, if it was to blow out for another 8 months, would probably be double or triple what you're facing right now.
It's not worth the risk. Whether they could conclude it wasn't going to grow at all. It's not the risk. This guy here has been absorbing the toxins in my body, and now we've discovered that it's there. So now we know it's there. Let's get the toxins out. Let's pull it out, and then I can move on with my health journey.
Chuck, at times, one of the I've got three questions here. We'll maybe just cover one from a viewer. They were very inspired by your story. They said it's very compelling and hard to believe, actually, that you're so positive and the way that you're facing it, which is maybe not so easy for most people. So the question is, Chuck, how do you do it? Like at times when you're at your darkest, how do you dig yourself out?
There's not one answer to that question, I don't think. I would say first, let yourself be sad. Let yourself feel those emotions. Be an observer. When I was simply working on the same exact computer, and imagine that this camera was on right now, I was just working and doing this, which for the people listening, I'm rubbing my neck right now. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? This was 2 months ago. And I didn't even realize at that time that I had a subconscious fear that if this came back, that was a death sentence. I hadn't given it much thought. I haven't worked through that on my own as a fear of false evidence appearing real, because it was false. It is false. But that didn't stop me or prevent me from dropping down on the floor and crying my eyes out, because I thought it's back and I'm screwed and it's over, and immediately started imagining my kids growing old without me, and my wife finding someone handsomer and more attractive than me. Your brain, like, I let my brain go there. Looking back at what I've evolved is realizing, all right, when that's happening, let me just be the observer. Let me watch myself. I'm going to go through it. Let me go through it. But let me observe the situation as, okay, I'm recognizing this is happening, and I'm just talking myself through that as an observer, because as an observer, you know that what I'm going through emotionally is not like, there's a solution to this. There's got to be, right? So, and quite frankly, what I felt wasn't even the actual tumor. It was a different part that I can actually feel now, because there's no thyroid there. They didn't see anything. Luckily, that led to blood work. That blood work went up, and I had to go back again, did blood work, go back up. That's when we did the CT scan, and then they found something. But it wasn't what I was feeling, right? So I got down on my knees and cried, and and was not positive, for ultimately something that was fine. And that we're just going to just go in there and take it out. And it's surgery. It is what it is. There's some financial struggles due to it, but nothing that, I'm still alive, right? I could still get through it. So I find that question really hard to answer, because I don't know if I've solved the problem yet, but I'm working on it. And being an observer has really helped. When I have the thoughts that I don't find positive, I'm just observing that, okay, this is a thought. How's that thought going to benefit me? Is it going to benefit me at all? Is it what I want to have happen? No. Okay. Then I talk myself through that. And I let myself wallow on it as long as I need to. But as long as I'm remembering to bring in the observer, it doesn't happen for very long. And don't beat yourself up over the fact that you're wallowing just a little bit, because you're a human being. And I don't stay in a state of negativity for very long, because I'm able to just kind of talk my way through it. And sometimes I do have to talk to other people and communicate it out loud, because if you just keep it all up here and don't bring it out, write it down, spoken word, it really helps too. So, chit chat with people, see a therapist. For me, it's been, even just sharing my story with the world has been therapeutic, because it's helped me in this go around. I did not do this before. Before, I didn't even share what I was going through with my parents until I found out it was actual cancer, because I did not want to worry them. So I was going through all that with just really in here. I didn't let it out, leading to even more stress.
Yeah.
I hope that helps.
Exactly. Yeah. Like keeping that energy inside you is toxic, right? So I definitely can see a difference this time around, just in your total demeanor, like you're like a chill dude, I'm having some cancer surgery next Friday, whatever. In the meantime, I'm going to, roll out some podcasts, spend some time with the kids, go to the gym, cook some dinners, enjoy some snow. you're well and truly on top of this time around, and I definitely think sharing the story, moving that energy out of your body, moving that toxicity out of your body is a huge part of this, and will continue to be as the recovery as well. The recovery part is equally as important of what you're about to go through. The mindset, the nutrition, the proteins in our body, for recovering the scar tissue and all sorts of things after that. Movement, mobility, getting your body back into shape, getting everything back to normal as quickly as possible. And this is something I learned when I was doing a lot of rehabilitation with clients. I used to work with injured athletes, and we used to do something called aggressive rehabilitation. In the old days, when someone had a broken arm or a torn muscle or something like that, they would just rest, ice, compression, elevation, RICE, RICE. Don't move it, right? But now the leading physiotherapists in the world say move it as quickly as you can. So reduce the inflammation, of course, rest and ice, and then start mobility work as quickly as possible, because you need to repair that scar tissue in a mobile way. If you allow scar tissue to sit still, then it's going to bulk up into a big chunk of scar tissue, and it's going to have provide very limited mobility and flexibility later on. People that have had torn hamstrings and surgeries of the biceps and shoulders and all things like that, we would get them moving as quickly as possible. And the same thing goes post-surgery as well. Get back in the game as quickly as possible.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not able to lift anything that's more than 3 pounds for 3 weeks. It'll be lots of this, a lot of moving. Because last time I completely lost the deltoid. It just atrophied and kind of went away. So I had to really work it back up. Luckily this time it'll just be kind of in the middle. You don't need to go all the way over. So it should be a lot faster, a lot speedier.
Yeah, nice. You're experienced at it now. Yeah, awesome. A quick preview of what's coming up next week. I do believe we may have a super, super special guest joining. Is that correct?
Yes, if we can coordinate it in the schedule well enough for next week, we should be able to have our Reiki specialist, Erin, joining us. She's agreed to jump on. We'll just have to coordinate. So if it's not the next one, it'll be the next one after that. We'll have a special bonus episode or something.
If we have to do the podcast from your hospital bedside, we will, Chuck.
Yeah.
We made a commitment to do this every week. So even if you're at the airport, we don't have to have all the professional equipment set up to be able to do this. As you know, last week I just had my laptop in a hotel room. So, we care more about the quality of the content that we're sending out there, not necessarily the production quality at this stage. Still looking for sponsors to help us with editing and things like that. But in the meantime, we just want to get the information out there as naturally as possible.
Oh, and should we add, if you've liked this, can you click follow, can you click subscribe, and can you share so that we can spread the message?